Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back. 877-448-0433. Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. My next guest, one of the more popular guests on this show. This weekend, he won his semifinal round of BBQ Pitmasters and completes the final three contestants. He will face Lene Oxley of Sugar's Barbecue, Dave Bosk of Butcher Barbecue, to see who walks away with the 50 G's and the title of Barbecue Pitmaster Grand Champion, and an automatic berth to the Kingsford Invitational this year as well. Let's go ahead and race over the hotline. Welcome in friend of the show, Rod Gray, pitmaster of Pellet Envy. Rod, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous, Rod. No camera for you tonight?
Yeah. I'm sitting in front of it, but it's not on. I don't know. What am I doing wrong?
Do you see the little camera button?
I don't see shit.
Hover your mouse over there. Does the camera got a line through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, click it.
Ooh.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Rod Gray. Look at that. Sexier in person. All right, well, I'm lying about that, but at least we can see.
You like my wife beater V-neck T-shirt tonight?
That's
introducing a line of Pellet Envy wear. This is the first thing. This is it.
I was going to say, if you dropped the Pellet Envy name and went with F-Bomb Barbecue, that would be the giddy-up for sure.
That is the name. You remember I'm holding that back for some season special.
Oh, man, that's I still think that's probably one of the best names that a team could ever get. Do you have copyright on that just in case somebody's listening tonight and decides they're going to take that?
No, but I'll get the closer on it right away because that's what she does.
All right, good enough.
Oh, how come you cut me off? Now I can't see you. Only see me. There I am. We're back.
Relax. We got this all under control. You segued nicely into this, Rod. And before we get into the show and what you're up to, right at the turn of the new year, your wife Sherry underwent kidney transplant because of an extremely rare kidney disease. I mean, she looked great on the TV show Sunday. How is she physically, and what's her outlook going forward?
You're totally blowing my badass attitude here, but Sherry's doing great. Sherry got that kidney the middle of January, and honestly, life is about as normal as it was before she ever contracted that rare blood disorder. So things are going really well. She's feeling great. She's back to work full time. She's back to being a pain in my ass the whole bit. So it's working. Now you know it's working if she's a pain in the ass. So Sunday, your semifinal show hits the TV, and you're up against Stump McDowell from Stump Smokers and Robbie Royal from Rescue Smokers. How much experience, if any, do you have cooking against these two guys in the previous? Sorry, we got a friend in the room that we're supposed to be put away. And what the hell are you looking at? I can see you, but you look at everything but your camera. I don't get that. It's a radio show. I'm looking all around. But you got a camera on. Yeah, but I have, if I could... I don't have enough. I'm actually looking at you. When I look at this way, I see a bigger picture of you right here than on my. It's very complicated, Rod. You stick to task. You're a professional. It's screwed up. It's just messed up. Ask me again, because now I'm refocused. What do you want to know? So the show hits the air. You go up against Stump McDowell from Stump Smokers and Robbie Royal from Rescue Smokers. How much experience, if any, do you have cooking against these two guys previous to this show? You know what? I'd never met either one of them in person ever. I know Stump by reputation, and I didn't know a thing about Robbie Royal before I shook his hand on Thursday, the day before we started to shoot that episode. Rod Gray from Pellet Envy joining me here on the show. PelletEnvy.com is his website if you want to check it. A newly revamped website, I might add. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we got that done before the first show aired, like 2 days before. It was a lot of work. For as simple as it looks, it was a lot of hard work, but I'm pretty proud of the way it turned out. When you open the coolers and see what meat is in there, you have venison. The two Georgia boys seemed almost unfazed and, I guess to a point, a little excited as they had experience with it. Not you, seriously concerned at that point, or did you immediately kind of start forming a game plan? No, I was seriously concerned, but know this, if you watch that back, they didn't know what it was either. We were all staring at this meat, not knowing exactly what was in there. I could tell how lean it was instantly. I could tell how dark it was. I had a feeling it was some game meat, but I wasn't sure. Once I would have popped that package, I would have known it was some sort of a game tenderloin. But those guys didn't know until we were told exactly what was in there. But yeah, No, I was concerned. I was very concerned.
You know, what? I'm just asking you to speculate, but why do TV shows go out of their way to make you look like, oh, crap, I don't know what it is, or I've never done it, and then the other guys be like, yeah, this is something that we just stick around with every day when clearly nobody knew what the hell?
I don't know, because, Sherry and I have discussed this quite a bit. You can't believe how much stuff they leave on the cutting room floor on those shows. We feel like we could edit that show better than they do. I know we can't, but, it's over on Sunday night, and we're driving home. We went over to our sister-in-law's to watch it, and we're saying, what about this, and what about that, and why didn't they include this, why include that? But, that's not our job. We'll leave that to them.
The other meat in the cooler was brisket points, so like the third time in a row that you have gotten some kind of brisket meat to your favor. I mean, widely considered to be one of the better brisket cooks out there in the country, even amongst the people that you face on the show. Do you feel like you need to just keep the venison close at this point because you can kind of overcome any shortfall with the brisket?
Well, yeah, I want to back up and tell you a story about that, but I just figure if I can keep my brisket in the ballpark, not my brisket, my venison in the ballpark, and cook a great brisket, I probably have a decent shot at it. Couple of things. One, I don't know if they were really clear about it, but they asked us to specifically turn in both slices and burn ends in chunk form.
Yep.
And I don't know if did they say that on the show?
Yes.
I never really caught it.
Yes, they did.
They did. Okay. Well, in Kansas City, we don't slice our brisket points. All we do is queue them up for burn ends. So, but I think the opposite thing there was those guys don't cook a lot of brisket points. I'm not really sure. Honestly, they knew that they had brisket points in there when they opened that cooler because they had a really heavy fat cap on this group. They didn't look like points. You couldn't see the grain of them. We just weren't really sure what they were. I knew instantly what they were, of course, but I don't know. Yeah, but to answer your question, yes. I felt like cook a good brisket and don't screw up the venison, and I think I have a shot at it. At least I felt that way.
So you're self-admittedly not a big fan of eating barbecue. So where does venison rank on your list of things that you might ever try and eat again?
Never. Venison is rank, I should say. It was gamey. It had the texture of a beef tenderloin and the flavor of somebody's old shoe to me. It just wasn't good. We're dipping that little bit of barbecue sauce. We sauced the crap out of the stuff. You couldn't really see it in the box because it kind of set and we sliced it, but we sauced the heck out of it. I want to tell you a story though.
Yep.
So Thursday we're in this room doing our prep work and they set us in the room the same way that we're on the show. So it's Stump on the very far left, Robbie in the middle, and me on the right. And they went across the room and said, "What do you guys think you're going to cook?" And I didn't even understand what Stump said. I mean, that's no act. You have to have an interpreter to understand what Stump says. But then I forget what Robbie said, but he had some educated guess what he thought it was going to be. And they got to me, and I said, "I don't know what the hell these guys are talking about. All I've ever cooked on this show is brisket and ribs, so surely it's going to be brisket and ribs." Man, did I line up Stump and Robbie Royal. They were pissed off about that. And then we opened those coolers and there's brisket points in there. And I got to tell you, one of those two guys was really not a happy camper.
Is there almost it's fixed, or just like, wow, how lucky is this guy?
Well, I think it was, and actually they made a point to tell us. We put all the meats in place before we ever slotted the people into the show and what show they were going to cook. So the fact that according to the crew, my semifinal, that third semifinal of the three semifinals, was always going to cook brisket points because we were in Kansas City and venison. And they didn't know if I were going to get through my first round. They didn't even know what round I was going to be in. I think they hand selected us for the first round, three guys who had won on the show before. But I'm not sure they put the thought process in that if Rod Gray wins, he gets to go home to Kansas City and cook. And they couldn't change it after the fact because the other two semifinals were set and the people were told where they were going to go. So I just had to come to Lee Summit to cook. So I think it was just kind of a luck of the draw thing, and it just happened to work out in my favor.
Rod Gray joining me here on the show. PelletEnvy.com is the website. Rod, the brisket cook seemed to go off pretty much without a hitch for you. I assume that there wasn't anything that you weren't happy with for that side of the competition.
No way. That's not true at all, Greg. We were not happy with the brisket. The brisket was a little dry. It wasn't tough as an undercooked. It was just that it dried on it. The slices were dry enough that they just weren't good. They weren't up to our standards. Did you notice when they called me to be the winner they're showing me, and over my shoulder is Sherry, and you can mouth her saying, "Holy shit," when because we didn't know we had any shot at winning that. It was really a tough cook for us.
When you have a situation of, well, as you said, you're not typically going for slices out of your point anyway. So when you're put in that situation, the point is typically fat-laden, I guess you could say. So a lot of people would immediately assume there's so much fat, there's going to be a lot of juice, the meat's going to be all right. Is it just that hard to get slices out of a point regardless?
No, it's not. If you go to Texas and order barbecue, they'll ask you if you want lean or you want moist, and moist is slices of the point. It's absolutely possible. I think having the fat cap on it helps hold that slice together because you still need to take it up so high. I think my mistake was I stopped a couple of those points about 200 degrees so I could slice them, and I let the others go on up to where I thought they were tender enough to be burnt ends, which was somewhere. Honestly, I didn't probe my points that way. I just did them by feel, but I bet they were closer to 210. And so there were two different textures there, and those slices they weren't my favorite, is what I should say. They're not the way I want to eat a brisket point, but obviously it worked out with the judges. They didn't have a lot of bad things to say about it.
No, and you get through the judging, they weren't loving the venison, but they didn't hate it. And in turn, each of them loved your brisket, and both Robbie and Stumps had a bit more tug on their brisket than the judges wanted. You win the day, you move on to the finals, which, let the record show, I said you would win last week. Nevertheless, size up your competition in Lene Oxley and Dave Boskin.
Well, let's start with David. David and I kind of cook in the same circles. He's only a few hours from me. He stays around Oklahoma, and I don't get down there that much. But we see each other on a regular basis. And David's not only a good cook, I think he's methodical in his approach. I also think he knows a ton about breaking down an animal and the different muscles and the different cuts. Some stuff I have a little bit of knowledge of, but not to the level that David does. I mean, that's his job. That's what he does every day. So you have to factor David in as very, very tough competition. Lene, nobody knows much about Lene. She's on the West Coast. She doesn't travel all that much except to the Jack. I had met her once or twice, maybe when I was out in Vegas, or maybe once at the Jack Daniels. And then when she came to do her first round here in Kansas City, we did get together and have lunch. But I know nothing about Lene, nothing about her cooking experience or her background or anything. So she's completely a wild card. And she knocked out a couple of pretty decent competitors along the way. So, something there to that. She must be a decent cook. So we're going into this, and I'm thinking, well, and I've read some comments online about, I think the meat's going to determine what's going to win the thing. But I think it's anybody's day. I think I had a bad cook in Lee Summit and got away with it. I think you can have a bad cook and it can kill you. But they're both good competitors, just in different ways, completely different ways.
Let me ask you something. I've watched each episode this season, and here's what I think. You have three very qualified judges in regards to what they have won during their time out on the circuit, and they all have success to some degree in the restaurant game. I guess maybe not Myron Mixon as of late, but the folks who are on the circuit for this show maybe have this built-in advantage whether they know it or not, because here's what I mean. The judges compete on the circuit. The competitors know this, so they're using profiles that the judges might use if the tables were turned, and the judges were cooking kind of to their advantage. I mean, I have to imagine if the tables were turned, these guys would be cooking in a similar fashion to how you are. Is that fair to say?
I think it's a fair assessment, Greg. I'm not sure it's exactly what I did until the finals, and I did a little more of it in the finals. And the first two rounds, I cooked my food and turned it in because they were my categories. We get to the finals, and I would tell you that I probably used a little more psychology in my cook, and I probably considered who was judging it a little more than I had in the first two rounds. I had Danielle as my third judge in the first round, and I had Melissa as my third judge in the second round. So I had a couple of different judges there. But I think what you say could be true. It didn't happen with me in the first two rounds, but I would say I used some of that in the third round for sure.
When is the final show going to happen?
When is it?
Yeah.
It's this Sunday, the 25th of August.
Right. I don't know if they were going to run that one weekend off so they can catch everybody up in a marathon, but whatever. So that'll be this coming Sunday.
We lose some momentum of showing the three semifinals back to back to back. And you can go and look online. I don't think I'm telling anything out of school. They haven't really talked to us about what we can and can't say, but it is a 2-hour finale. So
2 hours?
It's from 9 to 11 on Sunday night.
Oh, my. I can't stay up until 11 o'clock on Sunday night. I got school in the morning, Rod. What are we going to do? So Do you walk away with a win or what?
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Rod Gray joining us here on the show. PelletEnvy.com is the website. Rob, I'm going to transition out of the show here just for a couple more minutes while I got you, and I appreciate the time. I know you're very busy. Little update on the rubs and the sauces. How's that going for you?
You know, I get that question a lot, and here's my honest answer. This is my 8th month in the business. I don't even have a year to look back and reflect on, what we've done or a year to compare it, but we're ordering a ton of it, and we're selling it all over the country, and I think it's going really well, but I don't have a frame of reference for that. So we just keep pumping it out the door, and people keep buying it. A couple of the products are really, really catching on. The IPO sauce and the Zero to Hero seems to be a great combination on ribs all around the country. People are beating me with it from what I understand, if they're telling me the truth. So it's going great. I'm proud of those products, and a lot of people are trying them, and I'm getting a lot of really, really fabulous feedback about them.
Do you have a percentage of people that are buying them in the traditional brick and mortar stores and a percentage that are going online retailers only?
Well, here's the thing. I've got it in 49 grocery stores here in town and Price Chopper stores all over the city. So I'm offsetting about 18 or 20 barbecue specialty stores around the country selling it versus 49 stores here in town that are selling it to just the regular consumer. So there's a balance there. I will tell you that BigPapaSmokers.com and the KansasCityBarbecueStore.com is selling a ton of the product, a ton of it. I'm actually blown away by that because those people, for the most part, are fellow competitors, and I'm amazed at it, honestly.
Rod, aside from this coming Sunday on the BBQ Pitmasters final, where are you going to be competing at next?
My next competition is in South Dakota. I've got a sold-out class this weekend in Kansas City. 16 different states represented in this sold-out class. Wow. So I'm going to do that. We're going to have a watch party for the finale. And then I'm going to take the holiday weekend off, just kind of regroup and hit it hard for September. Try to start finding a way to qualify for the Royal for next year and for the Jack if possible. Going to South Dakota first, and then around here some. And before you know it, it's American Royal time, the 1st of October, my favorite contest in the country.
Rod, are you surprised? You're kind of like you and Johnny are kind of like the trendsetters of the new age barbecue competition cooking classes. Fast forward to 2013. I mean, are you surprised that you're still this popular and people are ready to come to your class at the drop of a hat?
A little bit, Greg, but for a different reason. I tell you everything we do in the class. I don't hold back, because if I did, I'd have to remember what I told you, what I didn't tell you. So we just literally go through our program start to finish. But I think what's going on and some things that we're taking some students out of my seats are turning around to bite those other people, because I'm getting some feedback from some folks saying, you know what, Rod, we were spoiled by your class. It's a fabulous class. It's the best class we've attended. So I think that's finally coming back around, and people are figuring out that we put on a pretty top-notch show. So this class sold out really fast, and I probably get right now, because of the show, I probably get a dozen inquiries a day asking for our 2014 schedule, which I'm working on right now and hope to have out in the next couple of weeks.
Rod Gray will be going up against Dave Bosca of Butcher's Barbecue and Lene Oxley of Sugar's Barbecue this coming weekend in the BBQ Pitmasters season finale, and then he'll be up in South Dakota cooking as well. Tune in, see if Rod wins it all. Rod, always appreciate the time. Thanks for coming out tonight, buddy.
Hey, Greg, I got to give a shout-out to my major sponsor, Grease Lightning. You always let me do that. Great people, great product. They support barbecue. Help me support them. Thanks for having me on. Love to come on. Love the show. The Lynn interview was awesome. I watch MasterChef, so he sounds just like the same person on television. I wish I was as cool and as smooth as he was.
He's a great guy, no doubt.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, Rod, take care. There he is. Rod Gray of Pellet Envy. Again, the website, pelletenvy.com, if you want to check it out. Buy the rub, buy the sauce. All very good stuff, by the way.